before the audiobook goes live. It will be accessible this weekend. It will be a long YouTube video, free to watch for anyone who wishes to participate in it. But before that, I wanted to address for some people or anyone who is interested the basic seven Hermetic principles, since it is referred to it a lot in the book. It is called the Seven Laws in the audiobook. So I wanted to go over the seven Hermetic principles, which you can find in the Kybalion. And if you're interested in Hermetic teachings, metaphysics, alchemy, the science of the universe, then I highly recommend you starting with this book. It's a super light read, but it's very heavy and complex on subject matter, basically. Okay, so before we go into that, I also wanted to announce our Patreon community. So if you want to go deeper into these teachings, also participate in different group activities, then you can join our Patreon community. And next week we're going to have a channeling session. If you're interested in it, I will bring through during the live meeting my guides and you can ask them questions. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining. Hello Donna, hello Jacaranda Marie, thank you for joining. Much love to everyone from Transylvania. If you want, you can post into the chat box where you are from. And also, if you will be having any types of questions during the, hello higher vibrations, during the, I wouldn't say like explanation, I also don't want to like hold a lecture. I will go over the seven Hermetic principles and like see what comes through, what type of information that is necessary for the highest good of all life. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining and let us begin. So if you have the Hermetic principles in the Kybalion, I highly recommend it to maybe go over it a bit before you start with the audiobook. It will clarify a lot of stuff. The Magic Seven, okay. And first off, I will read all of them, a little quotes from them, what they entail, what do they mean, and basically the whole point of this transmission is to basically explain them in use. So not just as something philosophical, but actually how can you use it for creating your own reality, how to use it to transform and to basically transform that which is unworthy into something that is higher vibrational. So let us begin with the seven Hermetic principles. The first is the principle of mentalism. The second, the principle of correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and the seventh is gender. Okay, so the first is the principle of mentalism. Excuse me. So the principle of mentalism. The all is mind, the universe is mental. So basically this principle goes in very deep into, I think, something that quantum physics is just starting to discover, that all is mind, everything is conscious, and basically everything in the universe is based around consciousness, how we manifest what we have in ourselves, which is reflected outwards. But I will briefly address it from the perspective of the all, that all is mind, basically. So all that we experience in life is basically a mental creation of ourselves. We're co-creating it with everyone. But basically everything that is happening in the consciousness of the all, or God, and is basically his mind's or hers mind's creation, what we're experiencing. And at this moment, we're experiencing it from the perspective of our physical nature, from our physical body's perspective. And to further explain this principle and how can we use it, I will use the principle of correspondence, which is as above, so below, as below, so above. So basically you can understand this whole principle from the perspective that maybe if you're an author or musician, or you enjoy stories or creating maybe movies or any types of art, then you may see it as you're creating a story within your own mind. And many great talented artists have created like universes, and you can find them in our entertainment industry basically. So basically these universes that they have created first existed within their own minds, and it is basically you are aware of it from that higher perspective that you have only created this type of fantasy or mental creation, and it is so-called not real in a sense, but for the characters and all the inhabitants of that mental creation that you have created within yourself is very real, for that is their reality. So we can use this in a sense that, like, all right, you understand it, that what we're experiencing is almost like a virtual simulation on the physical plane. It is a mental creation of the all, but that doesn't mean that you should like devalue its effects and what it can hold for you, even though it is a type of illusion, as you would call it, a simulation of energy creating things. Your experience of it is very much real, almost like if you're like watching a movie or you're very much into maybe a video game and it makes you like emotional, you feel stuff and you experience it, you enjoy it, you are still aware that what you're seeing on the screen is not real. Like it's maybe someone's fantasy, maybe if it's a video game, it's like a virtual reality simulation. But what you experience through it, the emotions, the lessons you learn is very much real. And basically that is what remains with you. That is what you take with yourself from lifetime unto lifetime, basically. But the experience that creates it is illusory because it ends, it is finite, like everything moves, everything flows, and everything changes. And also our avatar in this illusory reality changes as well. And when it has expired, we move on to something else, to experience another virtual reality. Okay, so yes, I have used the principle of correspondence to explain the first principle. So once more, the principle of correspondence is as above, so below, as below, so above. And we can use this principle basically to understand the workings of the higher planes and also opposite. For example, if you understand specific rhythms and specific processes, how they work on our plane, you can project that further into the higher planes and you will find basically the same pattern repeating itself on the higher planes and so above and also below us as well. So you can use it to better understand how things work on different planes. And also, I think in recent years or decades, this quote has been like further progress. So it's not just as above, so below, but also as within, as without, because what is inside of us also corresponds with that which is outside of us. And it can function both ways, and you can use this principle to project that which is inside of you in your outside reality. And of course, many of you are aware, and I think all of us have experienced it, the not so pleasant effects of being exposed to things that are not very pleasant, situations or people that are basically can drag our energies down, but also it can happen in a positive sense as well. When we are unable to hold space for ourselves, when we are unable to hold our center, or we are not grounded or protected energetically, and so we're like absorbing everything from our surroundings. Maybe if something tragic or unpleasant happens, then we like absorb the negative experiences of other people. This is where the as without, as within can be applied, but you can also use it in a very positive sense. If you're grounded within yourself, within your heart, and you're able to create that peace, balance within yourself, then you can also project it outwards to others. So it works both ways. If you're an empath, it's not just that you're feeling other people's energies or you're getting the energy of others inside of yourself. It also works both ways. So you can also project your energies to others. And this is where mental influencing can come in play, basically. If people are not shielded or like completely reject your energy, then you can basically maneuver their energies as well. You can balance them. This is how healing works too, if they're receptive to your energies. And all right, and so comes the third principle, which is the principle of vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. I think all of us are like very familiar with the law of vibration, since we use it so much in our day-to-day activities of like something is lower vibrational or higher vibrational. And basically, I wanted to explain it from the sense that everything is moving, everything is constantly changing, and even it's just at a different rate of vibration. For example, you can, let's take different types of objects. Maybe you have a rock or a crystal, which is very hardy. It has a dense structure, and the molecules and atoms in this structure still move, but are very bound to each other. Then you may take a different material, for example, water or any type of liquid. It may have similar molecules, maybe. It may also hold some of the same components as a crystal, but the binding between them is not as dense. It's much more fluid. It can move much more easily. And you can take it a step even further with, if you boil it and you transmute it into steam, then it becomes even lighter, and the binding becomes even lighter between the parts. And basically this is the basis of all transmutation, basically, when you realize like, okay, like I have something at a specific state, maybe it is desirable or maybe not, but now you can transform that state into something else. All right, and let's move on to the next one because they're very much intertwined. The principle of polarity. Everything is dual, everything has poles, everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree, if just like water, ice, and steam. Extremes meet. All truths are but half-truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled. So yeah, like we can take, for example, of the water, which is basically, you may take ice, water, and steam, or vapor, and basically it is the same substance, it has the same properties, but it's different in degree, in nature, basically. No. It's different in degree of vibration. And we can also, in a practical sense, take our emotional or energetic bodies. You may take the two poles, the two extremes, being in a state of fear and being in a state of love, and you have millions of degrees in between them, basically. And this is where the whole process of transmutation comes in, when you realize that, okay, like I have this spectrum, and you can move that state of being or that something to a different degree. But it also goes in deeply later on that, just as with the effect of water, for example, you cannot transform it into something that is not. For example, I think it refers later on that you cannot transmute maybe softness into sharpness or something similar. And this is also where it goes into the whole process of transmuting things in nature as well. For example, when you have our weather phenomenon, I think many of you have observed that we have a lot of interference in it from time to time, but that also works on the same principle, and also our mental state is also influencing the movement of nature. So in a sense, that is why we're experiencing such turbulent weather across the world, because people are going through a lot of stuff, a lot of turmoil within. And what we're going through inside, those challenges and those difficult times, is projected outwards, as above, so below. And that is influencing the flow of nature as well. But what I wanted to say regarding that, so basically we may take the example of a storm. Depending where you are on the world, you have the opportunity or the potential to have a storm or rain, simply rain. And depending on what vibrations you put out, how you influence it, what you're projecting outwards, you can intensify it, or I think it's called subside here, or to make it less intense, or to neutralize it. So basically, if you have the opportunity of a mild rain or decent weather, you can create it into a storm or completely neutralize any chance that it is going to rain or be any types of storm, basically. But you cannot create an Amazon rainforest type of monsoon in the Sahara, because the materials and everything that is needed for that is not at your disposal there. So you can only use what you have at your disposal, and you can raise or lower its vibration, basically, between the two poles, between the two extremes. You can intensify something, or you can calm it down, subside it, and neutralize it. And it's the same thing with the emotions as well. If you're going through something very intense, and you're like sensing that you're very much involved in it, and it's triggering you, then you may feel that it's going up, and when you realize what is happening, you can transform it and neutralize that experience and bring it back into balance, basically. Okay, so please, if you have any questions, ask them later on, because I don't really have the opportunity to watch the chat box, but thank you for all that you're posting. So we're moving forward to the principle of rhythm. Okay, our dogs are very active. Everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. So basically, this is what we've explained so far, and it is illustrated, the two poles, by the pendulum of the swing to the right and the pendulum of the swing to the left. And we also talked a lot about this whole process that we're all going through when you feel that you're very much okay energetically, you're high up, and then you go down into a deeper state, into a state of hibernation and a state of more potent change, and then you come back up again, and then it happens again. And this rhythm is basically in absolutely everything. You just have to stop for a moment and just realize this marvelous thing that we call the universe that we live in, that this flow of out and in manifests in everything. For example, we constantly have to breathe in and out. We constantly have the cycles of sleep and wake time, of action and stillness. We also have the day and night cycle. We also have the cycle of the seasons, which is the growing season, then it decays and it goes into a state of hibernation so it can renew itself and grow once more. And then we can go into the larger cycles that happen also in our world and also at large in our solar system or the galaxy, of which I'm not very familiar of, so I'm not going to share that. Okay, so basically this rhythm manifests in everything, and I think when you can really empower yourself with this whole knowledge is that to recognize how things swing, like when are you up, when are you down, how are you flowing, how are things flowing around you as well, because each moment you have the opportunity to do something, and basically how we can use this to our advantage is to realize that, okay, like I feel now high on energy, I feel very much okay, I feel I can do many things, so this is a great opportunity to fulfill things, to do, maybe explore new things, to create, to do stuff. And when you're starting to feel to subside, to go a bit low on energy, sometimes it may manifest through maybe getting a cold or sickness or something, when you're like physically unable to run around and do all the things that you would want to do. So basically when you're feeling that you're going in a lower energetic state, then use it to stop for a bit, to slow down, to reflect and to recharge, just as it is within nature. You have the growing season, and then you have the winter time when everything decays and goes into a recharge period so it can prepare itself for the next growing season. You can use it in that sense. And also the Kybalion goes into the law of neutralization. I believe it's how it's called. When you're at a higher state of mastery, basically, and you are aware of this swing up and down, and when you feel that the valleys are coming, when you're going to go down on energy, then basically stop all the stuff that can distract you from going within and wasting your attention, time on outside things. Stop for a moment, or maybe days, and mostly focus on raising your own vibration so you can like rise above that valley, I will try to illustrate it with my hands. So basically, you may see yourself being in this linear sense. And when you're high on energy, that's all is well. But when you sense that it's going down, you're going to go into a deeper valley, then you can choose not to go down with it, but rather choose to raise your vibration, center yourself, and continue forward. And still that valley is going to happen, but in a sense you're rising above it and you're neutralizing the negative effects that it can have over you. And I think many of us are doing this, even if you're not consciously aware of it. At least many who I talk to, and also myself, when I feel that it's time to go down a bit, then doing types of recharge meditations, realigning yourself, grounding, going out in nature, doing something that relaxes you and brings you joy can be really helpful in this period. So you won't experience that low time in a negative sense, but you can also use that to your advantage to grow and to further progress on your path. Okay, so the principle of cause and effect. Every cause has its effect, every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for the law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing ever escapes the law. Yeah, I really like that part, that chance is but a name for the law not recognized. And there are many people who I suppose are not very spiritually oriented that think that there are coincidences and things happen by chance. And yeah, when you go look deeper into how things work, then you can find that every cause has its effect and every effect had its cause, even if we don't recognize it, because it may come from a different plane or it is hidden from our understanding or perception. It's still, that's how it functions, nothing can escape it. So use it to your advantage. Be, how is it called? Yeah, so consciously, this is where consciously creating your reality comes in. So basically, you're always causing something to happen, and when you're not consciously aware of what you're doing and you don't have a clear intent, then basically that causation that is bringing forth your reality is coming from the subconscious mind, and basically then you're manifesting only your subconscious negative beliefs, all your fears, all your traumas, and all the unpleasant stuff that is circulating back in your head. You're bringing them forth when you're not consciously creating your own reality. And in my opinion, the shortest and the simplest way of doing this is basically, I think it was also in the channeled message for the new moon, is to start your day by writing down your values, what is important to you, and see yourself and feel yourself in a healed and integrated state. Like, how would your higher version of you, the highest expression of this person in this reality look like? What would it feel like? And what types of relationships would you have in that higher state? What types of jobs you would have? Where would you live? What would you do? What is your highest joy? And basically, how do you live in that higher version of you? And when you have clarified that for yourself, how does that work? How does that feel? Then try to function from that perspective as much as you can. Try to react and interact from that perspective. And whenever you are faced with different circumstances, situations, opportunities, tasks that you can fulfill, places where you can go, people that you can interact with, like always weigh it in your heart, like maybe is this activity or this opportunity in alignment with who I want to be? Is it in alignment with my higher self or where I want to go? Or is it something that can take you in a different direction, basically? And it can be tricky, especially when a lot of ego is involved and the influence of the surrounding world. But yeah, like everything takes time and practice, and the more you're being in this mindful state, the easier it will be. And basically it won't be a practice that you will have to like engage in consciously. It will just be something that you do completely naturally on your own. Okay, so we have ended up with the seventh principle, the principle of gender. Gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principle. Gender manifests on all planes. This is the principle of creation, generation, and regeneration, because basically the two poles, you may see the feminine, masculine, positive, negative, hot, cold, action, inaction. It manifests in everything, and basically the blend of these two poles working together as one creates, generates, and regenerates everything that exists. And you can use this principle to create our own reality. And we are also using it unconsciously, but you can use it to your advantage, basically. During my meditations, I start my meditation to centering myself in my heart center. Then I shoot a beam of light up to the central sun, which represents the Heavenly Father or divine masculine aspect of creation. Then bring it down to the core of Mother Earth, which represents the divine feminine, and basically merge the two into one inside your heart, the divine feminine and divine masculine, to create this beautiful balance and alchemy within yourself. And from that perspective, you can create wondrous things. I will also try to address like what are the properties of the two genders, basically. So you can also further align and balance it out within yourself. Like regardless if you're male or female, you have the other side within yourself as well, to a certain extent. Like I am male, but I have female aspects as well. That is how we can exist in this reality. And okay, and I will also address the properties of them. So basically we'll start with the male. You may see it, this is the yang energy, the more active energy, the doer, the logical mind, which basically acts upon inspiration. And the divine feminine is the receiver, is the more passive, is the more emotional, is the sensitive, it is the creator energy, which receives basically information from, or energy from the masculine side, and from herself creates something new. And you can find this all over nature. That's also how we reproduce, and many things in nature reproduce that way as well. But you can find it also in the larger cosmos as well. For example, you may take our sun as the masculine aspect, and Mother Earth as a divine feminine. And the sun is giving off all these energies to the entire system, and is showering Mother Earth with different types of energies. It is a life-giving force that is received within the core of Mother Earth. Then it is dispensed to all children of Mother Earth, or anyone who is connected to her and alive within her body, basically. But I will also illustrate it by, this is how we evolve, in a sense. Right now, this is what is happening on 111% as well, that we're receiving these activation codes through the sun. They are coming to Mother Earth. Mother Earth is receiving those energies and information within her body, and from her body, she creates new life, and she transforms and evolves life or the existence within her own body. And you can also expand this further to different planes as well, but I would like to keep it relatively close to Earth for the easier way to understand it. All right, so I hope it made sense. So if anyone has any types of questions or want me to address anything regarding this or something related to this, then please do share it with the question mark in front or at the end so I can see it. All right. So basically the teachings of Thoth, the Atlantean, that I have shared and will be live in a few days, brings everything, basically explained. It doesn't fully explain the 7 laws, but goes into several aspects of it, which are crucial for a more deeper understanding on how they work. But the most easiest and quickest way to bind the 7 laws into one, to use it for transformation and transmutation, is through different meditational practices, such as using the violet flame to transmute different things. And if you go deeper into how the violet flame works and you have the curiosity to experiment and to do stuff with it, then you will find that you can use it to many, many different things, to transform many different things in your reality. Higher Vibrations Act asks, when is your book coming out? It is going to be live on Sunday at 7 p.m. Athens time. I'm not sure what that is in Pacific time. But I will be posting a premiere for it so everyone can see it. All right. So Jacaranda Marie, yes, you have a great violet flame meditation on YouTube. Yes, I think I did like 2. I'm not sure how many. I know one of them is mostly for transmuting negative and dense energies within the collective. But basically the principle is the same of how transmutation works, and you can apply it to anything and everything. Also physical objects, for example, you can transmute the energy of your food, the energy of your water, what you receive, all the things that you put into your body. For example, if you're like taking any type of medication, you may like use it to transmute the negative aspects of that. Or if you're taking any types of things in your body that you know that it's not the best, it's not that pure or higher vibrational, you can transform that energy through it. You can use it for healing, because what is healing but when something is out of alignment within your body, within your energy, and basically you're able to put everything back into its natural flow through the violet flame, or I use the eternal fire meditation. You can put everything back into its place, and by using that type of meditation, the flame can act as a type of catalyst for growth, for regeneration. This is where the principle of gender comes in, and also vibration. Since everything flows, everything moves, your body is constantly deconstructing itself, and it is constantly reconstructing itself. Your cells are constantly breaking down and new cells are being formed. Like, this is how we regenerate, this is how we grow and advance in life. And by using the flame, you're intensifying the vibration of this process, you're intensifying the breaking down and regeneration of new tissues within yourself. Of course, not to an absurd extent, because it still has to happen in a balanced manner in your body. Okay, so higher vibrations. Are you able to explain the part of the emerald tablets regarding curves and sharp turns? Yeah, like that's a good one. I know the highest light is always curved, spherical. All right. Yes, and also violet flame, the blue flame, and the green ray. Yes. You may also, I used for my meditations the eternal fire, which is basically made out of white light. It is white fire, which encompasses all spectrums of the rainbow. But depending on what you need, you may access or use a different spectrum of the rainbow. I also use the blue fire for clearing and keeping unwanted things from my field. And also the green rays of Archangel Raphael is incredible for healing as well. So try experimenting with that and see what happens. But regarding the emerald tablets and regarding the sharp turns and curves, yes, I know that the higher light is always curved and spherical. I don't fully understand what the emerald tablets is referring in that aspect. It kind of is like that maybe the lower dimensions and the hounds of the void, I think, the beings that are keeping people from advancing only can move through angles and rigidly. If you now it is not the case as much as it was in ages prior to this, but maybe centuries or decades ago, if you were evolving spiritually and you were raising your vibration and pulling yourself out of that lower dense state, then you will trigger the agents of the matrix that will come there to put you back into your place, and you could learn to master them and to move beyond your fears, or they will actually put you down back into your lower vibrational state. But now it is not as much the case because are progressing out of that phase, and the veil is becoming thinner as well. But basically, I think it is referring more um, that they move through angles and sharp edges, that it is more segregated, it is more artificial or vibrational, and that the higher spheres and also you moving through the higher realms through curves is basically something that is more organic, it is more free flowing, in my opinion. It's also, if you look at, I think it's pronounced feng shui, that Chinese philosophy of arranging your house and like how energy moves in the house. And if you study that, you can see that sharp edges, corners are not very good energetically. Like they can segregate and fracture energies. And also if you bang your head against it, it's not very pleasant. And also, for example, in corners, like energy can be stuck there. Just as with air and dust, if you don't clean your house for quite some time, you may observe that in the corners it is much more prone to dust and dirt to be deposited in those edges. And it's the same with negative energies as well. They can be stuck in these angles. But if you they don't have angles but curves, then energy is much more free flowing. For example, you can look at nature, and you can see that in nature you don't really have sharp edges, you don't have perpendicular degrees or anything like that. Everything is organic, everything is nice and rounded and soft, so energy can flow properly. And also, if you had extraterrestrial experiences, then you would have seen that everything in their ships are very organic. Like you don't have sharp edges, like everything is completely rounded off, and everything is almost like created from one piece. So if you like, maybe if you would take this room, or this would be the interior of a futuristic house or ship, then there wouldn't be any corners, there wouldn't be like parts where like plates attach themselves one to the other, or you wouldn't have bolts or anything that would like hinder the flow of energy, but everything would be made out like one singular piece. And if I'm correct, I think in Germany they're like starting to produce these types of modules for houses and like interiors that when you like put it together, it's basically made out of one piece, and you don't have edges in it, you don't have corners, it's just like one beautiful rounded thing, which is very good energetically. Okay. Have I missed anything? Okay. Okay, so thank you, high vibrations. It is a difficult question. Yeah, I had no clue what the answer will be, but that's what came through. Okay. Interesting angles and curves. Okay. Yeah, high vibrations. I smudge the corners more than everywhere else in my house. Yep, absolutely. Their stuff can deposit themselves. Okay. Also, my mom had an unpleasant experience with smudging the corners. She said that once she was smudging the house and she went to one of the corners, which was near to her bed where she had her head. And when she went there and like gave the smoke to that corner, went in there, she felt this like incredible cold and like chill just like moving through her body and out in the back. And she said that she was like freaked out very much from that experience. I guess like there was something like holding on in that corner, like that was its little comfy place, and basically she pushed it out with the sage's smoke. It cleansed that space. Okay. All right. If there aren't any further questions, and we will end this session soon. My throat chakra is starting to collapse for some reason. I'm having difficulty speaking right now. All right. So basically, the teachings will be live on Sunday in the afternoon for me. It's going to be in the morning for any of you beautiful people from America or that part of the country or the world, sorry. And up until then, I highly suggest exploring the Kybalion, or if you haven't, then you can find it online, you can read it for free. Like, don't have to buy the book. I have never read this book. I have always listened to the audiobook because I'm lazy. But it's good to have it for reference and to check out some stuff from time to time. And also, if you're interested in the book for reading it, you have all the links in the description. You can read it as a free PDF on my site. You can download it from Amazon Kindle for like $1, and it is a free ebook on Google Books if you use Android or any of that stuff. And check it out there. All right. So, higher vibrations. Out of curiosity, how long did it end up being, the book? The audiobook. It ended up being, I think, 1 hour and 14 minutes or so. It was something similar to that, yeah. But sadly, not necessarily sadly, but I originally intended it for it to be finished until the end of February, and it is the end of October. And along the year, like, life happened, and I just didn't have enough time to do it, sadly. But now it finally came together. We also have beautiful music for it. The composer for the audiobook and some audio editing and mastering stuff is called Andre Yabin. If you're interested, you will find his link in the description of the video and to check out more of his work. He does some extremely beautiful music, and I found it. I think he was recommended by Gretchen Olivia Bouchard. We did light language collaboration for quite some time. It was very pleasant. All right. So thank you for joining, everyone. Thank you for your service. Thank you for being here, High Vibrations. And next week we're going to have a different type of live events. I hope. I wanted to call this live event yesterday, but I had to do so many stuff and I was absolutely burned out by the end of the day. So I didn't want to not do this properly. Okay, so I hope everyone will enjoy the audiobook. It will be there. It is free to be listened to and explore it as much as you can. I have also added chapters to it, so you will have time codes to find and go to the chapter that you want to listen very easily, because the whole book is not like you read through it. It's more like digesting chapter after chapter because there's a lot of stuff coded within it. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining at this beautiful live event, and I hope you will enjoy the book, and I want to see you next week too. Have a wonderful weekend and see you soon. Be well.